Okay, so did you get what I was meaning by refactoring from the beginning? So not sure if you got it, but let's do it. So when we mean refactor phase, you need to refactor your production code, okay, here on the right, but you also need to refactor your test. So this side of coding is as important, so equally important to this one. So this needs to be good, but also this, because this is on the tests are the bit which tells to the next developer what is happening. So you need to be as expressive as you can. So you need to be expressive in both sides, but this is gonna be read as the documentation. So the next developer is gonna say, hey, I have this, then when I generate this number, I'm expecting this. This is a very basic example and it makes sense, but when we are doing more complex things, keep this in mind. Try to be as expressive here as on the other side as well. And therefore, because you need to be expressive, you also need to refactor this code. It's impossible that the first one you say, okay, I'm gonna do this code, is gonna be the best one. No, of course, you're gonna fail as you do on the production code. So let's do something probably you've been thinking from the beginning. Let's create a data provider. So this is specific to PHP unit. Probably in any other unit suite you could do the same, but because we are using PHP unit here, I'm gonna be doing it with the data provider. So I'm gonna create a function, it's to be public, and it's gonna be data, let's call it input data provider. Okay, this function is basically what it's gonna do is gonna be called before the test, and it's gonna provide data to the test. So here we are basically copying and pasting all the time. So it's like, okay, create this, generate this number, and the expected result is this. But what if we could do something like, okay, let me copy this and say, you get an input number and you get an expected. We put the input here and we say the expected is gonna be here. So if we could dynamically put those inputs there, both of them, both parameters, the test, all these tests wouldn't be necessary. So we won't have that many code in the test class, which yeah, will make to the next developer to cry as soon as he want to change something here. Let's make it easy for him. So let's call this test fish pass, for example, and we need to do one at a time. Okay, so let's start for this one. We right now, let me do one thing. So let me take this away so we are sure what we are doing. So if I run the test suite, we have 8 tests with 8 assertions. So let's revert that. Now we take this one out and we say this according to the PHP unit documentation is gonna be data provider, and you need to specify which function is gonna be providing that data. Okay, and on here you need to return those inputs. So you need to return an array with arrays inside, which is gonna be matching this input and expected. So you say like 1, for example, it needs to be 1. This one will go here, while this one will go here. Okay, so if we run this, then we should keep the same number of tests and assertion, and everything should be in green if we've done this right. So let's give it a go. Okay, and we are in green. But let's be sure we are doing the right thing. So let's say now, instead of expecting a 1, we are expecting a 2. We know that's gonna fail, but let's prove our tests are testing the right things, because sometimes you do a modification in the test and everything is green, and then you think it's okay, fine, it's good, but it's not, and then the next developer will go crazy because there's a test which is testing nothing or something which is not logical. So let's run this, and of course it's failing. Now it's saying like failing, asserting that the 1 which we are returning in our class is matching the 2. Okay, so that's good. one thing I want you to notice here is this, saying like test fish bars with data set 0, 1, 2 is failing. Okay, however, if we make this test fail, okay, now we have 2 errors. This is the one from the 1 and 2, but this is saying like test number 4 return 4, and then here on the error we say failing asserting that 4 matches expected 5. This is very expressive. This is telling to the developer or to whoever who is reading this failing test, oh, I was expecting that the number 4 will return a 4, but is getting a 5. So it's expressing what's the intention. Okay, this sometimes is not as expressive as it is here. So let's be sure we make that as expressive at this one when it fails. One thing you could do in PHP unit, okay, let me revert this chain over here. So 4 generates 4, which is good, and on here before this array we can set a key and we can say like, okay, number 1 should returns 1. Good. So if I run now the test, we should have only one test failing. We run it, and now that set 0 went away, and now saying like number 1 should return 1. This failing because we hard coded the 2 there. So let's say now, okay, number 1 returns 1. We put the right input and the right output, and let's run it again. And yeah, we are back to green. Good. So it's been a good refactor. So let's take this out. Let's copy this. Whoop, and say like number 4 should return 4. So we put 4 there, 4 there. We take this, and still we should stay in 8, and we do. Okay, we could keep doing. So you can skip this. I'm gonna be doing all of them. So it's gonna be 3 now. So we take this out, and we say like number 3 is 3. So, return fish, and we pass the output, which is gonna be 3 and fish as expected. We run this, still on green. Let's do something here, which is gonna be okay. We run it, and still on green. So let's now take this, and let's do the same for this one. So and we say that number 6 is divisible by 3. Maybe on this one didn't make sense, but now on this one we are generating the documentation and we're saying number 6 is divisible by 3, so it should return fish. And let's run the test again. 8 test, 8 assertion, still the same, which left 10 and 5. Let's take 5. Okay, copy this, and we say number 5 is divisible by 5, so 5 should return pass, and should return pass. So we run it again, and still good, all green. So now we take this out, and we go to the next one. We select number 10 is divisible by 5, so it should return bars. Okay, we have it. Let's run it. Still on 8, all green, good. And what's remaining 15, okay, which is the last one. Whoop. So copy that and we select number 15 is divisible by 3 and 5. So it should return fish bus. Okay, so if we pass this and now we say that's expected, we run it, and we are now in 9. That's why because we didn't take this one out. That's important to keep how many tests you had and how many you are having after you refactor, because it should be all the time the same. Okay, keep that in mind. Otherwise, we would have left a test here which is uh, testing the same thing, and it wouldn't be adding anything new to the next developer. So the last one is the number 30, which is number 30 is divisible by 3 and 5, so it should return fish bash. Okay, we take this, and again 8 8. So let's make this, for example, fail. Okay, yes it does, good. And yeah, that's it for the fish bash kata. It's a very basic one. I hope you got the point of red, make the test fail. Green, you write the minimum amount of code to make it pass. That code doesn't need to be the good one. That doesn't need to be the best code you've done. Don't commit it if you don't want to be blamed for that code. But then on the refactor, you have the opportunity to say, okay, this is what I can produce. But still keep in mind that when you are doing TDD, you don't need to go to a solution. That's not TDD. So you need to keep doing baby steps. Of course, when you are more familiar with this, you will be able to skip some of these steps. But don't try to skip them from the beginning because you still don't understand. You are not familiar with the flow of TDD. So if you start like by taking away things, then probably you won't end doing TDD. You will be doing something. Probably in my case will be LSDD, which is not great. So yeah, see you on the next one.